Okay, welcome all Mind, Body, Spirit Squad members. I'm super excited to have Leanne on today. I'm going to read her short bio and then we're going to get started. So Leanne Vogel is the founder of Healthful Pursuit, best-selling author of over 11 health programs, host of the Keto Diet podcast, which is awesome, author of the international best-selling paperback, The Keto Diet, which is also awesome, and the creator of Fat Fueled Living, a holistic, paleo-friendly approach to a ketogenic, high-fat diet. She has been in the field of nutrition since receiving her holistic nutrition certification in 2007. Leanne shares free videos, podcasts, recipes, and keto-friendly resources on her blog, healthfulpursuit.com. So welcome, Leanne.
Oh my gosh, thanks so much for having me. Every time people read my bio, I'm like, wow, I've done a lot of things and I still have so much more to do.
But I think it's awesome. And your book is super reader friendly, I have to say. Like when I first got into the keto space and I was like, oh my gosh, I have to recommend this to my patients. I mean, it was such an easy resource to send to people because they are just read it, they get it.
Oh, thank you. I had no idea that the book would be used in that way. And it's just all the self-doubt that I had writing that book, to have therapists such as yourself and like serious practitioners be like, your book is awesome, I recommend it to my clients. I'm like, what? It's just crazy to me. It's such an honor. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for doing this work. I mean, I feel like I told you I'd go rogue right away from the questions, but you were a vegetarian or vegan before? Vegan. So you really went like from one spectrum to the other.
Yeah, it couldn't be more opposite. And it wasn't like it was an overnight thing. It was like, okay, I'm vegan. Okay, now I'm keto and I'm eating bacon.
Was that amazing the first time you ate it?
Oh yeah, I'd been dreaming about chicken skin and bacon for like years. Chicken skin. I ate chicken skin sautéed for like probably the first 3 months of keto. Every day I was eating chicken skin.
Amazing. Well, it's interesting, right? So our company is Mind, Body, Spirit Squad, and it's made up of naturopathic doctor, who's me, and then a chiropractic doctor, and then I never know what to call her. She's like a yoga meditation like guru. And so obviously it's all about like the mind, body, spirit connection, which I feel like so many people view as separate. And for you, I feel like when you went to like, okay, I'm just going to eat bacon, like, was your body like, yeah, this feels right?
Yeah, I think that that's one of the first signs that you need a change. And maybe you see that in your clients too. Like I had been wanting to make a change with my eating style for a long time. But I think with anything, if you get really involved in the community or your business is all about that specific way of eating, it becomes very challenging to deviate from that, because not only is it your friends, your family members, your business, how you make money, like it's a bigger thing. And I think a lot of us stop progressing because we're terrified of the fallout of that. And I had lots of friends that I lost because I no longer ate vegan.
Right.
And that was a hard thing. And then when I went out to the Healthful Pursuit community, having worked full time on Healthful Pursuit for 2 years, just scraping by of like, hey guys, so I've been eating pork rinds every day. You know, like that's a hard pill for vegans to swallow. And my entire business crumbled. It's a challenge for sure.
It is a challenge. And I also feel like, wouldn't you want to work with someone who's constantly growing and expanding? And if they find something new that's really working, it's like, that's awesome. Instead of being like, oh, you're no longer a part of our group. Right.
Yeah, I think as a practitioner, that's really important, and it gets you excited to continue to help people. And I think people just get fearful of change, and they think, and we're told at a very young age, like 1, 2, 3 step. And if you do those 3 steps perfectly, everything will be okay. And it's just not true. And I think a lot of people are fearful of that. Like, well, wait a minute. You know, a year ago you said coconut oil was bad and now you're saying it's good. What gives? And it's like, well, you know, research is always changing. I'm always changing. My views are always changing. But some people have a really hard time getting rid of that belief that health is just 3 steps away. And if you can't get there with those 3 steps, try harder.
And that everything is so black and white. And it's like, I always try and tell my patients when I first start with them, like, I'll always give you the information that I know that I feel like is the best, but that could change. And it always is changing.
Well, and then your clients change it too. Like I
Right.
chat with a client and they say something and I'm like, really? That's a thing? And they're like, yeah, this happened. And I'm like, shoot. Okay. Back to the drawing board.
Right. Okay.
So,
Need to look into that.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
It's a constant evolution.
it is. And I sort of, for me, that's what's so fun. But I mean, I love always like learning new things. And I feel like that's when I first started listening. I think you might have been the first person I really started listening to with keto. And I was like, what? How did I not know about this? I've done every diet in the planet and I didn't know anything about keto. And that sort of brings me to like my first question with you is like, how did you find this? How did you get into it? Like, how did it start for you?
That was the exact same reaction I had. So I was vegan. I was a marathon runner. I was training for my first triathlon. I had hired a really serious coach in Alberta, Canada that works with a lot of serious athletes. I was taking my training to the next level and I was very serious about it and working with her for, I think it was about 7 months. My training wasn't going any further and I was just stuck at the same spot for months. And she asked me, how long's it been since your last period? And I counted on my fingers like this and she must have thought days. And I was like 6.5 years. Wow. And she's like, Leanne, this is totally the problem. You need to go see somebody. Like if your hormones are really, really low, you're not going to be able to build muscle. Your energy is going to be low. Your bone density is going to be lacking. Like you could break a leg in this tournament. And so I went to see a naturopathic doctor. We did a bunch of blood work. She said I had metabolic syndrome. I was really close to getting diabetes and there were all these issues happening with my health. And I was like, what do you mean? I'm a holistic nutritionist. Like I run multiple kilometers a day. I eat amazingly. I even work with a dietitian to plan out my meals. Like I was all on point. And she said, the only way to kind of patch up this hole right now is to go low carb. And I just looked at her like, didn't I just tell you I was like a marathon runner? How the heck am I supposed to run a race without gels and packs and all the things?
Right.
And she was like, we'll look into it. And she didn't really have any answers for me, which was fine. I went home. I was on Instagram late at night, which I shouldn't have been because like, don't bring your phone to bed, but we do it. And I'm sifting through Instagram and one of my friends posted a picture of like all this disgusting meat and fat with a Diet Coke. And I was like, what is she eating? Like, what is she doing? And she used one hashtag and that was keto. And I clicked on that hashtag and I'm looking at this. Hole. Yeah. And I'm like, what are they doing to their bodies? This is so bad. What are they doing? So I went to the bookstore the next day. I got my first keto book. I read it and I was like, oh my gosh, how did I not know about this? This is a thing. Like I went to school. I paid a lot of money for my education. Right. Why didn't I learn about this option?
Right. I know.
And so I thought, what's the worst thing that can happen? I'm going to eat low carb, high fat for 30 days. My training is probably going to go down the tank, but I'll try it. After 30 days, I was off my ADHD medication. I was down 20 pounds, 12% body fat. My hormones were a little bit higher, which was a good thing because they were really low.
Yeah.
My blood sugar had stabilized. I was going long periods of time without eating. I had immense energy. Like my training was improving. I was on top of the world. And that was kind of like my first introduction to keto. And then on day, I think it was 31, I wrote that blog post that said, hey guys, I'm no longer vegan and I've been eating pork rind pancakes for a month. Yeah.
I love that it's not just like chicken or steak. It's like the ultimate like pork rind pancakes. That's awesome. They're like, so good, by the way. That's one of my favorite recipes that you have. How can you beat them?
Who knew?
No.
Who knew you could do this?
No one knows
rind?
that. Yeah. And then it's amazing. So nice work on that.
Thanks.
Well, that's quite a story. So explain a little bit. I feel like our audience has a good basis, a little bit about keto because I talk about it so much, but what, if you were just to explain it to like general population, like what is the basis of a ketogenic diet?
Yeah, so ketogenic diet is a low carb, high fat diet where we're burning fat as energy instead of glucose as energy. So think of there being two camps. One is glucose burning. And if you've basically tried any diet out there in the world other than keto, it's been a glucose burning diet, right, where your body relies on carbohydrates and a constant feeding of carbohydrates because we can only store so much in our body. And that's why you have to snack all the time. That's why you need 6 meals a day, because you're constantly lowering your glucose and having to boost it back up. It's stored in the body as glycogen, but if you eat too much of it, it can turn into triglycerides, which is why a carbohydrate-fueled person usually has higher triglycerides, because we're just going to overeat them. Right. With a ketogenic diet, we are burning fat as fuel, so we're no longer relying on that renewable energy source, like the non-renewable energy source, to get our energy. We're using fat. And the beauty about fat is that we have a lot of fat on our bodies, especially women, because we generally have to have more fat than men. We thrive on this eating style because every little bit of fat on our body is fair game, plus the fat that we incorporate into our diets. And so I had this realization a couple of weeks ago when I was recording minisodes for my podcast, that I think what we get caught up on is the keto diet. Sounds like there's only one way to do the keto diet.
Right.
But if you could compare the keto diet with the glucose diet, I mean, if you think of how many options there are to being glucose fueled, there have to be just as many options, if not more, with keto. And that's what we're seeing, back in 2014, when I was that holistic nutritionist writing blog posts about, I think there are more ways to do this. And everyone was like, you're an idiot. This is crazy. And to now see today that we're starting to add variety to this, and people are finding like some people can be fat adapted eating quite a large amount of carbohydrates. Right. Other people require more protein. Other people require less carbohydrates. So keto, I like to think of it more of a metabolic state. And right. Then within that, there are multiple ways to maintain fat burning, and it changes over time. So my ketogenic diet in the first 30 days is momentously different than my ketogenic diet now that I've done so much healing. So that's kind of like a long elevator pitch of what keto is.
That's super helpful. I've actually never thought about it before as there's so many different ways to do a glucose diet. Why can't there be just as many ways to do keto? I've never thought about it like that.
It has to be, right?
Right, but it's totally true because it is just a state. So, because I feel like, at least for me, I felt like in the beginning, I had to eat a ton more fat to kind of tip into ketosis. Mm-hmm. But then it's like, I feel like you don't need quite as much. I mean, I enjoy it, so it's obviously
easy.
Yeah, exactly. But not quite as much. I just felt like it wasn't something that I needed. I mean, is that something you find with a lot of your clients as well?
Huge. Yeah. Like, especially with me, I started off at 200 grams a day, and now I'm like maybe 120 grams.
Right.
And it also depends on, your food sensitivities, how much inflammation you have in your body, how much weight you have to lose, how much fat is on your body. I mean, there are so many variables.
Things. So I wanted to ask about keto for women. I mean, I know your audience is a lot of women. Our audience, I think, is almost 100% women. And so how can eating a keto diet help women specifically?
Yeah, so I think the cornerstone of the ketogenic diet for women comes in with cholesterol. Yeah. And cholesterol is balanced. Now, I say balanced because balanced means either increasing or decreasing to a normal level for your body. So I think when I say that the ketogenic diet increased my cholesterol, people are like, ooh, that's not a good thing. But for me, that's what I needed. My LDL was too low. My HDL was too low. My triglycerides were too high. And my overall cholesterol was too low. And when our cholesterol is too low or even too high, we're either making too many hormones or not enough hormones. Because I like to think of cholesterol as an umbrella, and cholesterol is that very tippy top of the umbrella, and then all the hormones cascade down the umbrella. So if your cholesterol is imbalanced, you're not going to be creating the right amount of hormones, or maybe you're creating too many hormones. So I really feel like cholesterol is that core of the ketogenic diet. And then also just around that core, think of it like you remember those like chewy gobstoppers when we were kids? Yeah. And they had like the chewiness and then all the different colors. Those are so fun to eat. Totally not keto at all, but delicious. And then like on the outer, the next layer, is blood sugar regulation. So by regulating our blood sugar, we're able to go longer periods of time without eating, which encourages us to fast, which lowers our inflammation, which also helps when we are fasting to help regulate our hormones. In the case of carb ups, which is a layer that I added in my own practice and then tested with many, like hundreds of my clients, is incorporating those carb ups, a cyclical ketogenic practice where we're eating carbs once in a while. And I'm not talking about like pounding cherry turnovers. That's not the type of carb up we're talking about. It's just like, have a sweet potato with dinner. You're going a step further specifically for women that we're boosting up our serotonin. We're increasing our tryptophan. So we're sleeping better. Our moods are better. And we can use this. Like if our moods are really, really poor before our menstrual cycle begins. So like day 26 to 28 of our cycle, have a carb up. It'll make you happier. And so we can use that to our benefit and start cycling in the different types of ketogenic diets that we're practicing throughout our entire cycle. So I think keto gives us this, I like to call it magic. I know that there's science behind it, but it gives us this amazing ability to get in touch with our bodies because our cholesterol is balanced. Our hormones are set up a lot more properly. Our blood sugar is regulated. Therefore, our brain is functioning differently. We have more space in the day because we're not eating all the time and thinking about what we have to eat next, that we have space to begin to work on ourselves and listen to our bodies. So it's such a beautiful way of reconnecting to your body.
No, I think that's so beautifully said. And I really love one of the biggest things I've seen in my patients, especially women, is their anxiety just like poof, it's like gone. And especially for so many people who have tried so many different medications and even supplements. I mean, I love supplements, but you can really start doing what I think they call green allopathy, which is just like, oh, instead of giving you like, Wellbutrin, I'm going to give you this anxiety decreasing supplement. And before you know, you're on like 20 supplements, which is like maybe better than medication, but I don't know. I mean, it's just still a ton of stuff that's not really treating the core issue.
Yeah, I was on 50 supplements 2 years ago, 50.
Oh
50. Now I'm on 3.
Amazing.
I'm so proud of myself. I mean, I do see a role for supplementation, especially when you're really sick and you're trying to get better. But I think the problem that we have, and I noticed this a lot on my last book tour, of women saying like, I've been doing this, and this for 2 years and it was working, and now it's not. And I've been stalled for 6 months. What's going on? And I'm like, you healed, you went on a path to heal your body, and you got to a point where your body was like, yep, okay, let's adjust. And you kept on that same path. And it's not your fault. There's no shame in this. We're told like, once you find something, latch onto that and never let it go. But it needs to evolve. And
Absolutely.
I had been taking those 50 supplements and spending way too much money on these things that I just didn't need anymore because my body had moved past the requirement for those.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I mean, supplementation has a place, but I think it stops a lot of people from just eating a whole foods diet and being okay with whole foods, because they're like, this is just too much money, it's too much work, I'm not even going to go there.
Right, absolutely. And the body is so adaptable, right? Like just like you were saying. So for some people, I use a lot of muscle testing in my work, and it's like some people, they take one supplement and it's like they're halfway through the bottle and their body's like, yeah, I'm done with it. That was great. Thanks, got what I needed. And I'm like, whoa, okay, your body adapts really fast. That's not everybody's speed. But again, it's that individuality where it's like, who knows?
Muscle testing is amazing. I learned it at a very young age.
Yeah.
I was probably about 3 when my mom taught me how to muscle test on myself.
Oh my gosh, amazing.
And I've been doing it for 30 plus years. Like I honestly didn't think people did, like I thought everyone was taught this. I thought this is just what humans did. So
you're amazing for saying
amazing
that.
For my mother. Like
yeah.
She had such great foresight. I mean, I'm the girl at the grocery store being like, do I get kiwis or apple for my carb ups? Kiwis?
100%.
Apples? Yeah.
I know. Yeah. I know. I'm like, ooh, this is only testing 6 out of 10. I'm not going to go for that.
Yeah.
But it's awesome because the other doc in the company, she muscle tests too. And it's, people are really freaked out by it in the beginning. I mean, they're like, what are you doing? How can that work? And I'm like, you just got to like feel your arm or feel your body. Hold this. What does it feel like? Hold something else. Hold your cell phone. What does that feel like? I mean, it's just another level of like getting more in tune with your system, and how awesome you can be so specific about what your nervous system needs. Because because I went to med school doesn't mean that I know, but your body can tell me. So it's like, great.
It's the closest we have to like, I know like in cars, they have those little machines that you plug into the bottom of where your feet go, like as the driver, and it goes beep, boop, boop, and like gives you codes to tell you. Yeah. I feel like muscle testing is that equivalent for humans.
Perfect analogy, because it is. It's like, I really believe it's the closest. Like labs are great, but it's still just a snapshot, right? I mean, it's like at this moment. And we know with thyroid and so many other things, they can change all the time.
Oh, all the time. And even different supplements, like my adrenals, whenever I'm writing a book, which I am right now, get a little bit fatigued. And so I need some sort of cortisol supplement. And last book, I muscle tested myself for a certain cortisol supplement. I got that supplement and I tried, I just started taking that supplement with the next book. And then I'm like, wait, I didn't even muscle test myself. Tested. It was not the right cortisol supplement. And then I got a new one and it tested good. And so it's constantly evolving and changing, even with the types of supplements that we can choose and the decisions it's just.
Absolutely.
It's great.
I love that you've been muscle testing since you were 3. That's awesome.
Yeah, my mom's really cool. She also did crystals. Like I can do it with crystals too, but that's maybe a little too bit too.
No, it's not at all. I'm like looking at my desk and I have crystals all over them. I'm like, yeah. I posted a picture yesterday. I was like, I might be having a crystal issue, but I'm okay with it because I like them.
Yeah, they're so amazing. And I mean, that's a whole different conversation, but you can do the same thing with crystals in a little bag. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, ooh, maybe we'll have to like schedule another conversation. Crystals and muscle testing. That's awesome. Okay, very cool. All right. Okay, so the theme for our November month is giving. And I feel like the keto diet has given you a lot of things. And I would love for you to share that. Because I feel like so many people think like giving is what you give to another person. And that's great too. But something can give you a lot simply from food too, in the way it's changed your life. So I'd love for you to talk about that.
Oh, I think it's given me purpose. And I don't like, I believe so firmly, in encouraging women specifically to be their own health advocates. And there's nothing more beautiful than being able to go on book tour and connect with women that get it and that are working so beautifully at discovering their bodies and loving the process and respecting themselves. Having that purpose, like as soon as I found keto and then I got my period back, I was like on a mission to share this story with as many women that would listen. And I say women because I feel like men have so many resources when it comes to their health, and every test and every paper is dedicated to how women or men's bodies react to things. I feel like women don't have as much of a voice in the health and wellness space. And I really, purpose. Like I'm just so thankful that keto lit me up enough and got me in a headspace with my mental health and with my physical health to get me in a space where I was primed to deliver my life mission. And I didn't know what that mission was. And I started Healthful Pursuit and I was like, I don't know what my voice is. I don't know what my mission is, but I'll figure it out. And as soon as I found keto, it was like, got it.
That's it.
Yeah. So I'm very thankful for that.
Awesome. That's a great answer. I feel like the cool thing about Healthful Pursuit too is it's just like, it's healthful pursuit, right? So it's not necessarily like this is the thing for your health. I mean, obviously there's like I would say like a huge umbrella of keto or whatever, that metabolic state that is part of the pursuit. But I love that it's not so like specific, if that makes sense.
That was my dad's idea because I am a free soul and I change daily. My hair is always different.
I know. I was going to say, I feel like this is the first. Is this your natural hair color?
No.
Oh. It looks like a very beautiful, like brown.
Thank you. It's not real. But when we were coming up with business names, he's like, Bunny, that's what he calls me. Bunny, never Leanne. you change all the time. You can't have like the raw vegan blog because a month from now you won't be a raw vegan. So you need something that's going to go with you on your journeys. And it was all his idea. I can't take credit for that. Although it's a very long name. And if I could do it again, maybe we'd cut it down to a couple less characters.
I like it though. Yeah, and I think it's good because just like we talked about in the beginning, there's so much evolving and changing, and even within this space that I think it's awesome. How soon into doing keto did you discover carb ups?
Ooh, 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 6 months because I was really struggling at that 6 month period, and then I started doing a lot of research on cyclical ketosis. Which a lot of bodybuilders did, but there wasn't a lot of research, and there still remains very limited research about it. And I mean, I was binging on carbs every week and feeling better from the binge, even though a binge is an unhealthy behavior and needed to be addressed. Just the act of eating more carbohydrates made me feel better. And so that's how I discovered, like, wait a minute, maybe if I ate more carbs, I could stay ketogenic. And once you're in that fat-fueled state and you're burning fat as fuel,
right,
your body naturally goes back to that space, and you can really push the envelope, and it just slides right back into that space quite easily, depending on how long you've eaten keto. So, and also, I mean, your enzymes, and there are a bunch of other reasons, but yeah, you can go hog wild and it'll slide back pretty easily.
Right. That's awesome. When I first started doing keto, I heard a lot of people say like, oh, that's not healthy to stay in long term. And I feel like that's a really old story, but let's just have you answer that. Is it healthy for well, I mean, like, is it an okay state to be in for long term?
You know, it's like the state of nutritional ketosis, I don't think so. Because like we said at the beginning, it's like there are so many ways to do it.
Right.
Is it unhealthy to live on bacon and butter for years on end? It wasn't for me.
Right. Like
I lasted 6 months and I was a hot wreck.
Right.
But it could be 4 months for you. It could be 2 weeks. Like I think the key here is, like, to answer your question, in the state of ketosis, I don't think it's unhealthy. Using the same approach to stay in the state of ketosis, even though your body's like yelling at you to adjust something, probably not the healthiest.
Right.
But if I had to decide between glucose burning and fat burning, I would choose fat burning every time. Yeah. And what that looks like and how it's built up, I mean, the world is your oyster. You could literally do anything.
Right. Like when people say it didn't work for me, I'm like, well, were you doing all the packaged foods and the not healthy oils, or meat that wasn't working for you? Do you have a food sensitivity that you were just, what if it was coconut and you ate that 3 times a day or twice a day?
Yeah, or nuts. Like when I went more to an AIP protocol to my ketogenic diet, it was like night and day. Like I removed the seeds and the nuts and the eggs, and then all of a sudden it was like gangbusters. It was on. It was so perfect. And now, like, that was 2 years ago, and now I can handle, like, writing the book, I'm eating more nuts, macadamia nuts, that sort of thing. And I'm noticing a little bit of inflammation, but I'm able to push the boundary a little bit more because I've done more healing. So you're right. I think because there are just so many people out there, and it's only going to get worse with keto, of just saying, here's how you do keto one way, and then Slim Fast coming out with a keto line of products.
No, they did not.
Yes, they did.
Oh my God. Like, I had no idea.
It's only going to get worse, and there's going to be more processed food, and because they see that this is huge and they want to get in on it. And I think as a consumer, we just need to vote with our dollar and support companies like yours, companies like mine, like, privately owned little things, and we're just trying to make a difference in this world, and that's who we want to stand behind, not these big companies making these big products that are filled with garbage.
Totally.
Oh,
I mean, I remember eating a Slim Fast shake for dessert when I was in 3rd grade at my friend's house. I seriously didn't even know that company was around anymore. I had no clue.
Yeah, I remember drinking a lot of Slim Fast when I got my wisdom teeth pulled out because it was so painful to eat. And my mom was like, here, have some Slim Fast. And I was like, this is garbage. I should have never gotten my wisdom teeth out.
Right, like, this is the worst. Wisdom teeth equals Slim Fast shakes. Not for me.
And if you think of, take a moment to look at these products and look at the ingredients. You may not understand what the ingredients are, which is a good indication that you probably don't want to be wasting your money on it. Right. But I think with any diet, I know that when I start a new diet, I get really excited to go to the grocery store and I have a budget and I'm like, I'm going to get all these new things and I'm going to try them out. But it's like the new things could be kale, grass-fed ground beef, and some coconut oil.
Right, right.
You don't need to go crazy with all the products. You don't need the products for success. Like, I recommend a couple products that I love, but they're not required to be successful in anything.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah.
Especially crazy. This exogenous ketone thing, that's becoming like I feel like a really big thing too.
It's huge. And I mean, there are good brands and like really bad brands, like terrifying brands. Like, okay, so I'll tell a quick story.
Yeah, please.
My brother-in-law uses a certain, I don't know if I can say it on your show, but
you
a certain,
okay,
Keto OS.
Okay.
He uses Keto OS. And I gave him it's very expensive and it has caffeine and he has the dairy-free version, the regular version, and the caffeine-free version. So I gave him some of my perfect keto exogenous ketones because I have it coming out of my ears. I have so much of it. And so I was like, try this and start really small. He's like, I've been doing exogenous ketones for years. I'll do the full dose. He took the full dose and he said, I felt so sick. I couldn't function. Like my stomach was hurting. I was like high on cocaine. There was too much energy. And I'm like, yeah, buddy, because Keto OS doesn't have anything in it but caffeine. Like, I told you to start small. So I think,
that's just the difference in the brands. Wow.
Yeah. And it's a fortune. And people are told that if they can, they can eat all the carbs and do all the things and then have their Keto OS or their exogenous ketones, and it like makes up for the mistakes you made. And I mean, there are amazing human beings that are choosing to sell these products and it's supporting their families. And it's a hard thing to balance, because when I show up at a book tour and somebody that sells these products, puts flyers all over people's cars because they knew I was going to be there, I have a problem with that because it sets the wrong example and people are using it incorrectly. Like, I enjoy using exogenous ketones sometimes.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, how would you use them for someone who's already in ketosis? Because I feel like, at least what I've seen is people who, like you were saying, go out on a binge, do a bunch of, like a lot of alcohol, and then they're like, oh, if I take my exogenous ketones, I'm not going to feel hungover and I'm going to feel better. And I'm like, Like, how do you like to use them when you use them?
Yeah, so I was really against all exogenous ketones. When the book launched last year, April 2017, I was against it. I talked clearly against exogenous ketones. And then I met some women that said, like, they were trying to adapt and they were doing all the, they were eating all the whole foods and they were listening to their bodies and they were incorporating, meditation and all these things. And they couldn't get adapted and they were feeling like garbage, and they started using just a little bit of exogenous ketones in their coffee or in water, and within a couple of weeks they were in ketosis and then they stopped taking the ketones.
Wow.
Really
That's awesome.
Great way.
Yeah.
Or if you have a family member, like my two parents, I've been keto since 2014, and they're like just getting on it, and the way that I did that was giving them exogenous ketones, being like, take this in the morning, see how great you feel. Imagine feeling like that all the time. So it can be a great introductory of like, this is what I feel like every day, all day, and I don't need a supplement.
Right.
That's another good way. If I'm on book tour or I'm going through a really stressful time and I know I'm not going to have time to eat or function and I really need my brain on point, I travel with my exogenous ketones a lot. And on book tour, I don't eat all day. So I'll like take exogenous ketones and fatty coffee and I'll have that all day, and then I'll have a big feast at night. And
okay, cool.
I wouldn't recommend doing that all the time, but if you are crazy busy with work and it's just not an option to pack a lunch, then that's a great way. If you're doing a launch or something like that, if you're in marketing, and I remember how crazy those launches were where you don't eat or sleep for 3 weeks, it could be a great way to bridge the gap. But I think any unhealthy behaviors around anything is not good. So if you're like, I'm going to go out on a bender with my friends and eat all the crap, and then I'm just going to go home and have my exogenous ketones, like maybe you need to assess, like, can you go on a bender with your friends and drink some water? Or
right.
like have tonic and vodka and go to bed by 1 a.m. every night? Like, does it need to be this crazy thing? I think it all just comes down to healthy behaviors, and a healthy behavior for one person is going to be different than the other person.
Different. Yeah. I liked what you were saying, though, back to the women who were like trying to do everything right and still couldn't get into ketosis. And I remember listening to I think it was one of your podcasts where you talked about you were like a bunch of stuff was going on in your house and you were like remodeling and you just like could not get back into ketosis. And that was helpful because I got married 3 weeks ago and I wasn't obviously stressed about like marrying Matt, and it was just like the whole thing, like everyone's traveling to the mountains and, you know, I want to make sure it's all good. And, it took me, I like fell out of ketosis. It took me forever to get back in. And I was like, man, but I was happy to have heard that from you because it made me feel like, okay, my body's not broken. I just must have more internal stress than I'm aware of right now.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on getting married.
Thanks.
That's really great.
It's fun.
Yeah, totally. I would never get married again. I'm happy I married my forever partner because it is the most stressful thing ever.
It's the kind of thing too, where it's like, I'm so far from the, you know, this has been what I've been dreaming of my whole life. And like, so it was just, for us, it was just like fun party, but it's that, and this is so important just even for my own medicine is like, wow, I can really be internally stressed without really knowing it. I mean, like my sleep was weird, obviously couldn't get into keto. I just had like strange symptoms and I was like, this is like, and if someone were to say, are you stressed? I'd be like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, that happens to me often. And the cortisol, like when cortisol's out in your body doing its magic work, it'll stimulate glucose production, even though you don't want it to. And when cortisol's out partying in your system, creating glucose, ketones can't exist in that state. So you can be eating perfectly fine, and your ketones are just being gobbled up before they can even be used or created or anything. So it just doesn't prime your body being able to create those ketones and use them efficiently. And that was so frustrating. I did the exact same things I had done even the week before, and there were no ketones to be found. Even if I fasted all day, I tried an egg fast for 2 days, nothing. It was so incredible. And I think we just don't realize, like, my husband's really good at not displaying symptoms of stress and not feeling like he's stressed. And when we test his cortisol, I'm like, okay, so you need to like lay down and not do anything for a week. So
and drink a whole bottle of glandular adrenal or something.
Yeah, exactly. Just like down it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really important that we understand that stress can show up in multiple ways. Like a woman in her 50s whose daughter is going away to college or graduating high school, and there are a lot of unknowns, even though you're so happy for her for having this accomplishment and you're excited for her, you could be dealing with a lot of internal stress, not even knowing, like, because there's so many unknowns and it's this life change and we don't like change. And so there's so much to it that we don't see.
Absolutely. Is that also one of the reasons why I don't actually know if you recommend people testing their ketones in the morning just with like their cortisol spikes and stuff? It's usually a little bit lower, or what are you think?
It depends on, like, if you want to get a good picture view of your ketones, I like testing in the morning. And then if I want to test like certain foods, or if I have like, I've been really geeking out about like if I have a good interview with somebody and like I feel really fired up, what were my ketones before and after that interview? So I'm like,
interesting.
Like, do my ketones increase if I just have a really good conversation? Do they decrease and it's very much an increase, like if I'm really connecting with somebody as opposed to like a really toxic conversation.
Right.
So you can also test depending on what you want to know about your body and how it's reacting to certain situations or foods.
Oh, that's awesome. And then one more question. Do you cycle in and out at all, or are you mostly sticking to like a carb up, which still keeps you in ketosis, or do you kind of come out once in a while depending on, I don't know.
I've only come out of ketosis like twice, and I hated both times. And I said, I'm not doing this again. The first time I needed to do, it was the January that I determined carb ups and all this stuff. I gave myself full permission to eat whatever I wanted for as long as it took to stop being crazy around food. And so I went to the grocery store, I bought candy and I ate candy every day, breakfast, lunch, dinner for like 2 weeks. Yeah, it was great. Candy, chips, cake, everything. And then after I realized, hey, I don't feel so good on these things. I should probably have some, I don't know, scrambled eggs and some kale or something. And then so that was the first time. And the second time, I was just curious. A bunch of people had said, like, eat keto for 3 weeks, then get out for 3 weeks. And I tried that once and I was like, this is garbage. I'm never doing this again. Yeah. And that was the last time.
Yeah, cool. I definitely went out of it for my wedding. But then like the couple of days after, I was like, this is like, we can just have whatever. And it's interesting because it's fun, right? But you just don't feel good. And it's like, this is why I don't do this.
Yeah. But sometimes you need a reminder. Absolutely. Like sometimes you forget and then life happens and you also want to live your life. I've never been one to be like, well, before I was, but recently, if we're in a place where there's really good food, like when we went to Cuba, and we went on this amazing, like, full day trip and we went to somebody's house for dinner and they were like serving all these things. I ate all the things and they had lots of carbs and I didn't care.
Right.
So I think it's part of your life experience and food is so important to that. And absolutely. I think if you have cancer or like different, something like that, keto is a therapeutic diet that you need to follow. But if you just want to live a healthy life, you also need to take your mental health into consideration.
For sure. I'm a total sweet person, so it's awesome when you have like some of these keto desserts or something like that. Is, there's a difference of like, okay, we're craving something sweet, we can make something at home that's totally going to keep us in ketosis and takes off that craving and tastes super good, versus like, yeah, you're traveling, it's like, yeah, I'm going to have this because I want to and it tastes good and it's great. Yeah.
And
if it kicks me out, then fine, I'll be back in soon, no big deal.
Yeah. And if you really, as you start to eat keto, the longer you eat keto, the harder it is to actually get yourself out of the fat burning state. So even if you do, quote unquote, go off plan, I've gone off plan for the holidays where for 3 days I don't eat keto. And then I wake up the next morning and I'm registering 0.8 ketones. I'm like, well, that's cool. So try not to think so doom and gloom about things. And just like live your life and set the intention of eating low carb, high fat. Like it's not, I think we all think it needs to be this big thing and it stresses us out and makes it hard to even generate ketones because we're so stressed out about the ketones and it cancels each other out.
Right. No, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to interview you about this is because it's really refreshing to talk about a way of eating that's not like, and don't go out of it because blah, blah, blah. And it just like, because it's such a thing for, I'm going to say women, but my husband gets just as stressed out if we're like, we're going to eat this way for a certain amount of time, because then, like you're saying, you start generating that stress even about eating this way, and it just puts you at a loss right from the start.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
You're like, that's exactly what happens.
Yeah, that's totally what happens.
So tell us what's coming up for you, your new projects. Is there like, what are you fired up about right now?
Okay, so the show's going to go live in November. So in November, we're putting together the launch plan and all the things for Happy Keto Body that's going to launch in January again. Happy Keto Body is my 12-week video training program for women, all about the things we've been chatting about determining what keto eating style works well for you, how to figure that out with your body. I partnered with a naturopathic doctor.
Oh, cool.
Well, she's an integrative doctor. She's like she's got all the things. And so I partnered up with her to develop Happy Keto Body. So there are a bunch of different paths that you can take, whether you want to go really deep into it or surface level stuff. And it's a lifetime access. There is a lifetime access option. So we're constantly adding new content, taking away old stuff. Perhaps research has changed. We're finding that with a couple of the videos and cutting out things. So it's full videos, a bunch of downloads, worksheets, you name it. We've had a bunch of experts on to go deeper into certain topics that members want. There's also a coaching aspect. And this has been a dream of mine for so many years. And to be able to have committed for one whole year, like right after my first paperback launched, I was like, focus. And we worked on this and finished it. And it's every time I go through it, I'm like, we created this? This is unbelievable. There's so much here. So awesome. That's kind of been my passion project, love thing. So that'll launch in January. Cool. Everyone can find out more by going to happyketobody.com. And then I have a paperback book launching in April.
Oh, cool.
It's a cookbook. It's
Nice.
only a cookbook. There's a couple of extra things in the front matter. And then I'll have another book launching in June.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's lots happening, but right now it's like happy keto body focused, and I love it. It's so great.
Good.
I love it so much.
What time is this that it's launched?
Sometime in mid-January, the first couple weeks of January is when it'll go live.
Oh, nice. That's exciting.
Yeah,
Cool.
we had students go through in April and August, and we've had, I think, almost a little bit over 2,000 students so far go through the program.
Congratulations.
Yeah, it's so great. And then they join for the next group. So they'll finish the 12-week program, and then we'll have more students in, and then they come in not only to go through the program again, but I'm also finding that they're learning from the new students, and the new students are learning from them. So it's this collaboration.
That's
and
awesome.
That lights my heart up, like just to see other people being like, well, I did that and this is what happened. Have you tried this? And they're like, no, I haven't. Oh my gosh, that worked too. So that's
cool.
That is the beauty of community. And that's why I love the internet so much. This wouldn't have been possible, connecting all these women from all these different walks of life with different experiences to support each other and get inspired by each other. And it's just, I just sit back and I'm like, this is crazy.
No, that's awesome. Creating your own community is, talk about giving, right? That's huge. It's like goes both ways on that. And I feel like that's like just the best kind of giving. So that's awesome. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you so much for being on, Leanne. It was super fun chatting with you. We're going to have to do another podcast all about crystals and muscle testing. Maybe we'll have like you and your mom on there and you guys.
Oh my gosh, that'd be crazy.
I'd be like, all right, let's roll. So how did muscle testing go as a 3-year-old?
Yeah, she's a pretty amazing woman, that one.
Oh, that's so cool. Well, thank you so much for being on here. I know everyone's just going to get so much from this, and I love that. And thank you for making it seem both easy, but also like giving to the body and healing, and you feel better. It's just like it's a win-win. And I love that. I love your message about it.
Oh, thank you so much, Nicole. I feel like we covered so much in a short period of time.
I know.
Felt like 3 hours of content. So whoever's listening is like, you just got a lot of good stuff, I feel.
A lot of good stuff. Take notes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. And we'll let everybody below the show notes all the different ways to find you.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay, cool.